Was that you? Are you trying to take a family portrait of children? Because that's what you look like when you're like.
It also never
It's
fails.
just for you.
It never fails to make a baby just so delighted. Like I do that with Naya. Anytime she's down in the dirt, feeling down about life, I walk into that 8-month-old baby and I say,
I'm gonna record it on my phone, so next time I'm down and having a hard time with life, just like listen to it in my phone, and be like,
or play it to random babies in the supermarket, or when you go to Bevies or whatever that random, which I'm sure is disgusting drink that you're drinking right now.
It's a iced chai with brown sugar cinnamon syrup in it. It tastes like Christmas.
It's disgusting. Everything you like,
So
like
milky.
I got the most. It's a yogurt. It's mixed with cornmeal. Like what? Cornmeal and some salmonella or whatever that. What's the
Semolina?
Semolina.
Not salmonella.
Salmonella. I went right in the middle. I played it in the middle. I mispronounced salmonella because it was the other
You
one.
did it with such confidence.
Yeah, confidently incorrect, I think, is one of the ways that I live my life.
That's good. That's good. It's a good way to live.
Speaking of confidently incorrect, yesterday I was picking up Noah from school. We're in this. By the way, we're started. This is it. We are.
Right.
We are in here.
Classic way to start a podcast.
The people don't realize that this could just be a regular phone call, or we could be doing the podcast. The only difference is when there's a chance that it might be the podcast, we don't hold back stories. When it's an actual phone call, we're like, there's lots of silence because we're like, do we give some update because we're afraid we're going to ruin some good story for the podcast? No joke. We talked last week and I did that.
I thought you meant that we held back because we don't want some people hearing the things that we say about them on our personal phone calls.
No, not at all.
Which also is a little true.
Yeah, a little bit. It's got a little bit of truth to it. But what I was going to say is, yesterday, I went to pick up Noah from school, and I do this thing where we talked about it. Like I'm on these Instagram accounts, I'm on subreddits, I read books about like parenting. So I'm like, got all these things that I like in my brain. I'm like, okay, can't do this. I can't ask that. And so I've learned that you shouldn't ask kids, like, how's your day? Like, it's just something that you just don't do, apparently. So I don't. And yesterday she just started telling me stuff. She was like, today I ate I cleaned 4 spots on my lunch plate. Cause there's like these little, like, it's a tray and there's like five spots. So she cleaned 4 of them. And she's like looking for like praise, I guess. Food is a big deal in our house. Like Seiko's love is usually like shown through food. And so she was like, I ate 4 things. I cleaned 4 things on my plate. I'm like, cool. Like, that's great. Like, did you like all of them? And she was like, yeah, I didn't really like this, but I ate it anyways. I'm like, yeah, that's tough sometimes when you don't necessarily like something and you still eat it. And she goes, yeah, but this one teacher's always angry at me. And I'm like, why? She's like, well, because I don't always eat everything. And I'm like, well, look. And she goes, and she said that the woman that made it for me is going to be really sad if I don't eat it. And I was like, I was like, well, look, those are grown-ups, all right? And what you eat and what you don't eat does not control a grown-up's feelings. I promise you. Like, you're good. If you eat it and you don't like it, then whatever, don't eat anymore. Like, your eating does not impact a grown-up's feelings. And she goes, I know. It's just that I love French fries. And I'm like, okay. She goes, French fries are my destiny. And I'm like,
also same. That's how I know that Noah is my niece. She is my own blood because our love for French fries goes deep.
Yeah, just French fries. It's just French fries are my destiny. I'm like,
you're saying that eating food doesn't control an adult's feelings. And I can't help but think about the time you and Daniel put ketchup in your milk glasses because that really affected the way Mom felt.
So Mom was on a phone call or something, and we're like, this is going to be so great that we're going to just waste this milk by filling it with ketchup. And so...
Classic joke.
Yeah, just a classic. Just one right out of the comedy books. And so we put ketchup in the milk, and it's also just a really bad practical joke anyway, because we didn't put it in her milk. We put it in our own milk, and then expected her to just like did you guys put something in the milk? Like, just the whole setup for this. Again, I've been very hyper specific on niches for a very long time. That's what we're really trying to establish here. My comedy niche is really slim. And so mom came back after being on the call, of course, not picking up on anything, because why should she be like, wait a second.
Someone put ketchup in this milk.
Are you guys putting condiments in your milk? Are you guys mixing condiments in dairy? So she walked in. Of course, she didn't say anything. We're like, like, I bet you don't even know what's in the milk. She's like, did you guys put something in the milk? We're like, why would you say that? They're like, because you just said it. You literally just said those words. And then fast forward, she finds out there's ketchup in the milk. And she's like, well, great. I hope you guys are happy because now you're not leaving the table until you drink your ketchup milk. And then, of course, we're like, no, we can't drink it. And we sat there crying. I remember, like, the table was clear. She was starting to, like, do like the nighttime routine where she was shutting off lights, being like, hey, I'm done. You guys are staying here.
I remember just sitting at the table, just being like,
You're just there for the entertainment. You're the niche. You're our niche audience. We did it.
I thought it was very funny. What an excellent joke for me.
And I think we took like one sip, and then maybe it was like, "Oh, it's gross! I can't drink it! I can't!" And she was like, "And now you've learned your lesson," and dumped it down the sink. And she's like, "We don't waste food in this family."
We don't. We still don't.
No. Even when Dallin uses green or blue food dye on chicken, is like, this is going to make this chicken wonderful, and bakes it, and it comes out looking like, I don't know, some type of tropical fish.
Well, it looked like salmonella is what it looked like.
Wait, are you talking about the weird?
Semolina. I think he was doing that for like. He was taking a cooking course at school, and he came home and he was like really excited to cook for the family, but he wanted to like just like zhuzh it up, add some pizzazz and food colored chicken, and then we all had to eat it because we couldn't hurt his feelings.
Yeah,
that one time we couldn't hurt his feelings. Any other time.
But his green chicken, no one say a single thing about the green chicken. You eat it.
You drink your ketchup milk and you eat this blue chicken and you zip it.
So basically what we're saying is we grew up eating and drinking the best, only the best.
The best. I was talking to Jonathan just a couple hours ago. He and his partner, for those who don't know, which is everybody, he and the partner moved to London. And so he's giving me like England, not London, Ontario. Although that would also be really exciting.
Culture
and
shock.
he was giving me a little tour of the place that they're staying right now. But we were talking because he hasn't seen my new dog. And so I was showing him and he's like, how's it going? And I was like, really good, except last night, I took her outside and she kept just running to eat snow when she was supposed to go to the bathroom. And I just it was late at night. I didn't put shoes on because this was supposed to be like a real quick in and out thing. And she just, every time I put her on the ground, she'd run, take off around the driveway and go eat snow. And I was like, what are you doing? And I started just getting like the insane rage that I feel like our family is all too familiar with, where you stop thinking logically at all and you're just full rage mode and don't know what to do. And every time she came up to me, be like, get out there and go. The whole neighborhood at this point in time is listening to me scream, go.
All the lights, you see that? It's like one of those shows or movies where all like the lights start going on in all the houses. Like, what's going on out
Dogs
there?
start barking. And Justin was in the house. He could hear me because our window was open, but I was just so angry at her. And I was telling Jonathan, and do you remember the time Jonathan had to babysit the cats? Everybody was gone in the house.
Like, what also a very weird intro to a story, because it's like they're cats.
No, he had to babysit the cats. My mom and dad had cats named Max and Mo, who were like the great grandchildren of my one-eyed cat Aaron. And once they were out of town, and Jonathan was babysitting them, and they kept making noises in the night, and he said it wasn't a meow, it was like a murr.
Do you mean he was house sitting? Like, do you mean he was house sitting?
No, he was still there. I think he was in between places or something. He was still living there.
He was homeless, is what I heard.
He was homeless. It was because he was still in his old bedroom downstairs. And remember, the cats would go hide under the stairs, which led into that bedroom.
Yeah.
And so all night long, he could hear the cats moaning this weird moan and not meowing, just kind of going like, And he kept on being like, cats, you need to shut up right now. The way Jonathan talks to every creature is like an adult person. And they wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop. And he did the Porter thing where he got like so full of rage that he couldn't function anymore. And also Jonathan really does not like his sleep disturbed. And he got out of bed and the cats were there and he just took a handful of their food and whipped it at them, like threw the handful of food at them and it just like skittered across the hardwood floor. And he was like, done, got it. And he went to bed after that. And he was, as I was like, isn't that kind of like, I'm like the anger that I felt towards Birdie is just like the anger you felt towards Max and Mo. And George was there and George was like, what are you talking about? So Jonathan had to then tell the whole story to George. And I was like crying listening to it because I'm like, what is wrong with us that we cannot process anger in a normal functioning way? It's all like we go from 0 to throwing cat food at a cat in the night.
And the best part is, have you ever read the Viktor Frankl book? It's called A Man's Search for Meaning, I believe.
I'm familiar with it. I did not read it.
So Viktor Frankl, concentration camp, and he realizes that as a human being, you always have choice, right? Like no matter what, you always have choice. You can choose how you want to feel in certain situations. He has this famous quote in the book where he talks about like, there's this tiny space between incident and response. These aren't his words. This is my summarization of it, but summary of it. Like you've got incident and response, and between those things, there's space. And in that space, you actually get to choose what the response is going to be. And I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. Oh, what can you do? That you can choose the response?
So you're telling me.
Hold on. What type of voodoo do we need to access that space? Because I go from incident to hand through the window. Like there's no
yes, ridiculous anger. And anger that like if someone else saw you expressing it the way you are, they would probably laugh at you because you're acting ridiculous.
You are a child. The amount of times I've had that quote in therapy where I'm like, I feel like little Ryan again. He's like, oh, is this something that happens often? I'm like, daily.
Every day.
I tried to close the freezer yesterday and I realized that there was too much stuff in the freezer. And that caused me to have a meltdown. We're just slamming the freezer door a dozen times.
Or the amount of times I'll say to
what are you doing? I'm like, closing the freezer door that won't close. She's like, then you're not closing it. I'm like, yes, that is so true, but...
No, that the amount of times that I will say to an empty house, no one is here. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Because a minor inconvenience had made me very angry that day. It's like,
of course.
This is exactly what would happen.
But anyways, yeah. So I'm trying to get Noah into the habit of recognizing that space. That's the whole thing. Like there is space in there, but it's not available to me. It's available to you. It's available to you. Daddy doesn't have that space. Daddy doesn't have that space. I was born without it. Because some people are born without that space. They all have the last name Porter. You're lucky because you have 2 last names. Yeah, so I thought very interesting that we all have a hard time finding that space to decide how we're going to respond. And I was reading this book. I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Science of Storytelling. I believe it's The Science of Storytelling. And it talks about how one of the critical ingredients to storytelling is that you need to give human attributes to things. And as you give human attributes to things, it helps people understand and relate to them a little bit more. And he's like, that's why we yell at a door when we close our hand in it. I'm like, no, I'm not yelling it because I think it's a human. I'm yelling it because I am absolutely filled with rage and I want to break this door into 1,000 pieces. That's why I'm not assuming this is a human. I am angry. That's it.
I know it's a door and that this door is going to not exist anymore when I'm through with it.
Yeah. And that's why I can hit it and not even feel bad.
Moral of the story, if it doesn't have a soul, you can hit it.
Yes. I'm looking at you, Donald Trump.
Oh, boy.
Did I just draw a line? Did I just draw a line? Did I just draw a line for this podcast?
I feel like the line was there, even if it wasn't stipulated.
We just lost 50% of our 4 followers.
Bye. See ya. Don't let that broken door hit you on the way out.
But it happened one time when I was back in Canada renovating the house, and in the middle of our renovations, there was a flood. So we had this like, it was in December. We got like 40 centimeters of snow. And then 2 days later, it was 15 degrees and all of it melted and it flooded the house in the basement. And we had to like put in an insurance claim. And I like had just finished reflooring the entire basement and we had another flood. And so two things happened. Once, I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before. But I used to wake up at like just before 4 a.m. every morning and do my workout, do a little bit of Japanese study, and then start work. And it was like 3:58 and I get in my workout clothes and I could hear this faint like beeping. And we had this little water alarm, like this flood detector that basically once the water touches it, it makes it beep. And so I wake up, I'm getting changed in my workout clothes and I hear beep, like the battery's almost like it's been going on for so long. I'm like, no, I'm not thinking these things. Everything I'm about to say, I'm saying. I'm like, no, not again. And I go running downstairs and I can see the water coming out of the laundry room. And I'm like, no. And it's like February 3rd. It's cold. But we had again, warm day. The snow melted overnight. And I go in and we have a thing, it's called a sump pump. And a sump pump pumps out all of the water that comes in from the bottom of a house. Like it happens naturally, but it makes sure basically that the water is always out of the house. Anyways, so I go and I'm like, what is going on? The sump pump is like floating in the sump pit. Like it's doing nothing. I'm like, no. And so I'm like trying to like get a new hose put on the sump pump. And then I'm going to put the hose outside through the window because what's going on is the line out has frozen. So the water's going up, hitting ice and coming back in. I'm just flooding the house. And so the hose comes off and ice cold water is spraying in my face. It is now 4:04 a.m. And like, I'm like, it's going in my mouth, in my eyes. I kid you not. And it's pumping water at an incredible rate. Sump pump pumps a lot of water. It's a fire hydrant. Like this is literally like drinking from the fire hose. I'm doing it. It's going, it's ice cold. It's like shock. I'm like, and I'm just trying to like, I'm trying to point it outside is all I'm trying to do. I'm like, and I'm trying to get a hose on this thing that's just flowing water outside like crazy. Anyways, I eventually get it somewhat situated and Seiko comes storming downstairs. She's like, Ryan, what's going on? And I am hyperventilating. I am so distraught. I was sleeping 7 minutes ago. And I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm not even speaking. I'm not speaking any words. I'm just like, I'm dripping wet. And anyways, so I go in, instead of solving the problem, I decide I need to go into my office room and punch the door. That's actually what's going to make everything go smooth. So I go to the office room. Just dripping ice water. And I punch the door. And then now I'm ready to get things going. And by get things going, I mean call Dad. I called Dad like 4 a.m. He's like, don't worry, I've been there. Like, sure you have. And then him and Mom rush over.
And I'm on my way.
And so, yeah, we like shop back and some buckets we got it taken care of. It wasn't a bunch of damage this time, luckily. We fixed it all up. But afterwards, I'm explaining the situation to Dad. And I'm like, I just lost it. Like I went in my office and I punched. There's now a fist hole in the door. And Dad's like, yeah, I've done that a few times myself. And I'm like, no, you have not. You have never been so angry that you punched a wall or a door.
I'm convinced Dad doesn't even have like bones in his hands. They're just rubber. He could never cause harm to anything. I can't imagine it.
No, he would be Jonathan. He'd be like throwing cat food. That's like, I'm so angry. Cat food. He's actually making it easier for the cats to live.
You're welcome. Good night. One time, I don't know why this made me think of it. We like to sleep in our room very, very cold. Like dead of winter, the window's open. And so in the summer, even though I don't want to brag, but we have central AC, we have also put like a unit in our room. So it's like ice cold when we sleep. And one night it had been a storm And you know how the AC that we have vents outside with a pipe, and you just like slide it into your window, right?
Yes.
And there had been a storm that night, and we woke up in the middle of the night to just like a scratching noise from the pipe that went out the window, and we were like, what is that? And it sounded like what if like a mouse is in your walls or whatever. And I was like, I don't know, did something like...
I love that that's a reference. 98% of the people out there are like, I'm sorry, what? You know, like when you're growing up and you just have mice also living in your house nonstop.
You know, when the mice are eating your survival packs down in the storage room. So we hear the scratching. And so Justin goes to the air conditioner and unscrews the pipe, and we still can't hear it. It's not coming from the pipe. We realize it's coming from the AC unit itself. And he's like, Jacqueline, it's pretty heavy. He's like, Jacqueline, can you get down? I'm going to shake it, and you trap what
I like this
already. You trap whatever's inside there. Again, we think it's a bird or a mouse, like something friendly. And something like in a Disney movie, bird or mouse. And so he is holding up the AC, shaking it over my head while I'm underneath it. And as he shakes it, a bat flies out into my face, into my face. We both immediately start screaming, just screaming. And we run out of the room and shut the door. And we're like, was that just a bat? Like, that was a bat. We both wear contacts. We're both completely blind. So Justin gets a pair of glasses on.
Blind as a bat?
Blind as a bat, some might say. Justin's blinder than I am, actually. And I only have one functioning eye. So he goes and puts his glasses on. And then I was like, I read online that bats can't bite through leather. And he had an old leather jacket. So I go downstairs with the leather jacket. So again, it's like 2 a.m. Justin's just wearing a leather jacket and glasses. And he gets a broomstick. And he like bravely advances into the room because he's going to get this bat. And we can't find it anywhere. We're looking all over our room. Can't find this bat. And we finally find it hanging upside down like a bat right above Justin's closet. And
I love how quickly it calmed down. It's like, all right, like, I guess I'm here.
I'm good. This is comfortable. So I'm like peering around the corner. I'm not even in the room. And Justin's got his broomstick and he's like, okay, I'm gonna brush it down and then try to like brush it towards the window. But when he brushes it, it just flies directly at him. And Justin turns to run out of the room, but he gets the broomstick lodged between our bed and our dresser. So he falls over it and then just army crawls on his elbows out of the room. And
save yourself.
We're like, now what do we do? We open the door again, and now the bat. Have you ever seen a bat walk on the ground?
Yes.
It also army crawls with its little like toes. So we look in there, and it's just crawling around the carpet. We have no idea what to do.
Is it nestling in your bed? Is pulling the blankets over?
Like, good night.
Now it's really making itself at home. Or you just have the room.
We're like, at this point, I don't know what to do with a bat that's crawling on the ground. Like, we figured if it was flying, we could like usher it towards, but we don't want to touch a bat that's on the floor. So we just decided to close the door and like, again, it's 2 a.m. We're like, we'll just deal with it tomorrow. Like, there's nothing we can do right now.
There's true problem solvers.
There's a bat in our room. There's nothing we could do about it. We shut the door and we both slept out on our couches in our living room. The funniest thing was Mom was in town when all of this was happening. And she was down in our guest room, which was directly below this. And the next morning I was like, we were screaming so loud. And she was like, I didn't know like what was going on. I didn't know if you guys were like in a fight or something. I was like, a fist fight? Like, Mom, what kind of fight do you think we would be in that we would be just like kerfuffling and screaming at each other? The next morning, we were like, okay, we slept on it. We can take care of this bat. We went in. We were never able to find the bat ever again. I had Justin on a bar stool on the bed because we have vaulted ceilings up there. So I was holding the bar stool on top of the bed while Justin stood on it.
I've seen this Instagram video. I've seen this one. It never falls.
And we never found the bat. And so we slept out on the couches for like 4 nights because we were too scared that there was a bat in the room. There might still be.
Still there. It is still there.
There's a whole family at this point.
Also, how dedicated do you have to be to a fight that 2 a.m. you just decide that's the time? It's just silence for 3 hours. And then you're like, you know what? Can we spin this up again? It's 2 a.m. that was the thing that was thought.
I'm up. I really hate the way that you.
And another thing, honey,
Justin, wake up! Wake up! I have something I need to say.
Have you anything new and exciting aside from yelling at your dog at?
No, I'm still just yelling at a dog, and I forgot. I think it's like when you have a baby and you forget all the hard parts of having a baby, and then you're like, we should do this again. Having a baby is so much fun.
Except it's nothing like having a baby. I will stop you right there.
It's exactly like having a baby.
I will intentionally look. Okay, we've got 2 listeners left. I will now cut this down again by half. Having a pet is not like having a child. You could say you're its mommy. You could say you're its daddy. That's fine. I have no problems with that. It is not a child. I promise you, it is not. I have had both. It is not a child. If
I have to get up with it in the night, it is the same as a baby.
Okay, so you are saying that indigestion is also a baby.
I'm saying that bat was a baby. That bat is a baby.
It's mine.
The puppy's a baby. Heartburn is a baby. They're all babies.
Really good fights are also a baby.
2 a.m. Royal Rumbles are babies.
No, this is not a baby. I understand it's difficult. I understand that it comes with complexities and training, but it is not a child.
But what I'm saying is you forget about all the hard parts because having a dog is wonderful. I love having a dog. Dogs are great. I forgot that puppies are awful, awful creatures. And I'm just counting the days until it turns into a dog. And I feel like it's emotionally abusing me because I keep on saying it, Birdie. Because Birdie keeps on making me so filled with rage and then does like the cutest thing in the whole world. And I'm like, oh, she's so precious. My whole camera roll is just pictures of her sleeping, which is also the same as when I had a baby. That's exactly the same thing that I would
baby, vacation,
puppy. And yeah. So now I'm like, again, my Reddit history is like, why is my dog screaming in its crate? How long is a puppy before it becomes a real dog? When can I leave this dog in a crate by itself? And I'm like, please.
Is it abuse if ...
Right now she sleeps exclusively in our bathroom because that's the only place she will sleep. And I put her down like a baby. Like I put her down, I wait till she falls asleep, and then I sneak out of the room quietly. And the other night I had just gotten her to sleep. And I came out into our room and laid down, and Justin was like, oh no. And I was like, what? He was like, I forgot to lock my truck. And I was like, okay. And he's like, the keys are in the bathroom. And I was like, are you crazy? You are not going to that bathroom. I don't care what happens to your truck. I was like, you're going to have to deal with it. They can steal it. And so he went out, he went out and physically locked his truck because I would not let him get the keys out of our bathroom.
Is there any other way to lock a truck other than physical? Oh, you mean he like went in
with
there and like
key fob? Yes, he exited the house to the truck to physically lock it and came back to bed.
Got it. Well, I'm glad he solved that.
So things are going great, is what I'm saying. Just everybody should get a puppy. They're great. They're so fun.
Well, hopefully we'll join that club at some point during 2025 or early 2026.
Next time I do this, I'm probably just going to get like an 8-year-old shelter dog with a milky eye. Like I'm not doing puppy ever again. If it doesn't have glaucoma, I don't want it.
If it can see more than 30 centimeters out, it's not my dog. That is not mine. No, I always look at the rescue like Instagram accounts and I follow a bunch of them and I'm always like, you know what, next one's going to be a rescue. But then I just remember puppies and how cute they are and I want to be there.
It is so cute. Also the attention that I get from, also she demands to be carried like a baby everywhere, which is really fun when I like go to school pickup and I have to.
You've gotten a baby carrier?
Cradled dog who is not that small anymore. And I'm like, okay, so, but I do get lots of attention and everybody loves seeing her for now. So that's been worth it because I do like attention. And I'll go to any lengths to get there. Anyway, I do have a question for us. Are you ready for it? I'm excited about this one. I'm excited about this.
Okay, hit me.
So, okay, it has a preamble. We watched this show called The Great British Pottery Throwdown. Have you ever heard of it?
I'm going to surprise you with this one. No, I've never heard. I'm not.
The shock I feel in my soul.
The
I think
Great
it actually just is,
British
it's just
Pottery.
the Great Pottery Throwdown. Yeah.
Okay, well,
might have
I need
added.
to Google this now.
Okay, Google it. It's the greatest show on television right now.
The Great Pottery Throwdown.
There it is. Sorry,
program.
I added British. So it's basically a British baking show. So it's a group of contestants, and each week they have challenges that they have to do.
But they're baking pottery.
But they're baking pottery. They make things out of pottery, and then someone gets kicked off every week, and someone is the star potter of the week as well. So it follows the same. And I love a slow moving British TV show because as aforementioned, my life is kind of hectic. And so I watch slow British TV shows where everybody is really nice. That's the other thing I like about British reality shows is everybody is kind of pleasant. And like often the Potters will jump in and help each other out, even if like they didn't need to, or they're just all lovely people. The main judge also cries a lot if he loves like a piece. He'll get like teary eyed about it. He'll just be like, it's just beautiful. And he'll start crying. He's this big burly man that is crying over pottery, which I love.
I would love to tap into that energy, like just being
it would be the best
by a
being
piece
so
by an earthen pot, that it moves you to tears.
Yeah, I imagine not being dead inside. So this show, the last time we watched it, there was this challenge, and the challenge was they had to build something that was a token or even like a totem of the hometown they grew up in. So that was their big challenge. And they had like 3 hours to build something, and then they glaze them and fire them. And it's like it's a several days long process. And then they present them and explain like what it is. So I started thinking about if you had to make a token, if you were a potter on the Great Pottery Throwdown, which I know is a big dream of yours.
I've been talking about it for a long time. I have been talking about this for a very long time.
I just need to do it. I just need to go for it. What would you make for your token of Ajax?
Okay, I'm going to buy myself some mental time to think about that while I make this comment. Indicator number 7,326 that a puppy is not like a child. You have time to watch the Great Pottery Throwdown or whatever.
With a dog on my lap.
Yeah, with a dog on your lap, just casually. Like you've not only do you have time to watch it, you had time to find it. You had time to, because I'm sure you didn't just click play. You had to research, like go and find out about the show, and then invest time into actually watching it and getting to understand the character traits.
So much time. I think I'm on season 5.
Like, listen to you. Puppy's just like, I forgot, Puppy's just having a baby. It's just like a furry baby. Except I have free time.
I'm binging this 3 hours a night, crying along with this man who loves pottery. I have mine locked and loaded if you want to buy some more time.
Go for it.
So I put a lot of thought in this because there were a lot of things. I was like,
you paused the show.
Your house? No.
you paused the show. You're like, Justin, bring out the laptop with CAD on it, with AutoCAD on it. You're like, I need a 3D diagram.
Just know that I did put it in my phone so I wouldn't forget, because I think
a
about
sketch? Is it a sketch?
It's not a sketch. But
hold on, do you do this? Hold on, do you do this as well? Where you're like, you have an idea for something that is so far beyond your domain of knowledge and expertise, but you fire up a sketch or some notes about how you would approach it. Like I kid you not. Oh, sketches of clothes? You want me to? I've got that. I'll sketch a hoodie. I will sketch a hoodie. I will sketch the interior layout of a house. I will literally like fire up like Figma or something and be like, okay, well, the living room would go like this, and we'd have a little room off to the side here. Here's where I'd put the bar stools. I have no intention of me. Like, what do I know? The audacity of being like, let me just fire up and just.
I could do this.
Design a house on the fly. Clothes.
Fashion designer.
Okay, I kid you not. I kid you not.
This is going in the show notes.
I have ChatGPT open at all times, and I'm looking at like my chat histories on the left-hand side. I am contemplating making clocks. And I have a whole thread about how I would design a clock. This is, and it's not like, I literally just one day was like, what if I just started designing clocks? Here's how I would do it. Where would I source the movements from?
We have no materials.
And poor Seiko, she has to field the questions. I
Seiko,
went out.
who has the same name as a watch? I would like to point out.
Well, hey, we would use Seiko movements, okay? A nod to the Seiko movement. But I've talked about this before. She makes candles, and she has this material called jesmonite. And jesmonite you can make, it's like a pottery clay, very strong, and you can use it in these injection molds to create different shapes or whatever. And like, you can imagine Seiko's one day out there, she's crafting her candles. She's been working on this for years. They're incredible candles.
Beautiful.
And I go, Seiko, do you have any leftover jesmonite? And she's like, yes.
She's just heavy size. She's like,
I'm like, could you use jesmonite to make a clock? And she's like, excuse you? I'm like, a clock, like a wall clock. Like, do you think we can hang a jesmonite clock on the wall? Like, I put zero thought, but also a lot of thought into this.
You're like, I have this sketch here.
I'm like, I have a I've been chatting with ChatGPT for the last 37 minutes.
And ChatGPT is just gassing you up like you would not believe. Like,
you can do it.
Right.
If there's anything you are, I'm going through materials, movements, total addressable market, revenue projections,
for clocks.
Brand names. Yeah, for clocks. But anyways, this is, I don't even know how, because you said you had this idea about your pottery thing. This is the way my brain operates. I kid you not. I have sketches of jeans and hoodies and t-shirts and clocks and interiors, cars. If I was going to invent a car,
Homer.
What? This is my life. I'm like, anyway.
There is an episode of Great Pottery Throwdown where they make clocks and have to hang them on the wall, and that is their like final test to make sure that it can hang on the wall. And the girl who couldn't get hers hang on the wall got, what's the word? Thrown out.
I'm trying to think of like a good pottery.
Like, I know, what's that? That's why I said thrown out, because it's a throwdown. See, I was getting there. I was working on it.
You do. Anyways, let's go into yours.
Okay, so my token of Ajax, if I had to sculpt something out of pottery, which I never would, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. But remember at Rotary Park, which was
you want me to sketch it for you?
Yeah, please. As I'm talking about it, as I'm describing, you can sketch. So Rotary Park was our nice park that was down by the lake. So it was like, we had a park near our house that was just like our everyday park. But if we were like really going out, the mom and dad really wanted to treat us, we'd go to Rotary Park, which is by the lake. And there, for a while, I now understand that they must have been like water pipes that went under the ground. But for a while, they had giant cement pipes placed around Rotary Park, and they painted them like different Disney characters. Like there was a Cinderella pipe, and you'd start by playing around inside the pipe. Like that was the initial idea. It's like, oh, these kids can play in these pipes. But as you like graduated and got older, like first you'd like climb on top of the pipes, and then we'd like jump from pipe to pipe. And that was like the tip top of what you could do at Rotary Park was jump from pipe to pipe.
We were at an industrial wasteland. We were actually
basically, and I was like, this is the nicest park I've ever been to.
Can we go to the good park today? It's just we're playing in a landfill.
And so that's what I would sculpt. I think that would be my like symbol of Ajax, would be one of those giant pipes with a Cinderella or something on the side.
A good pipe. What are the good pipes?
You know, some of them did deteriorate, and you'd see like the wire frame underneath, but that made it easier to jump from pipe to pipe because you'd have like a foothold. So those were like
also
the more
a little bit more dangerous.
They were the more desirable pipes.
Well, interesting that you said something related to a park. So my initial thought was actually remember when you would walk up to Kinsman Park? So there was a park, not the good park. Let's get that out of the way now. The good park, it's been established.
Mine was the good park.
Is the wasteland, is the landfill site that we used to play in called Rotary Park. But very close to our house, there is a park called Kinsman Park. And I was actually thinking about the wooden sign. When you walked up the Kinsman Park wooden sign is actually where my brain went initially, because when you were bored, it was like, let's just go meet up at Kinsman Park. And a lot of the activities would kick off at Kinsman Park.
Do you remember summer program at Kinsman Park?
Yes, absolutely. It would be like, go to this. was it called summer program? I feel like
Yes, it was definitely called like summer program. It was just like 13-year-old kids would run it it was through like the recreation department, and you'd go there to the park for 2 hours, you'd do an activity, you'd have a popsicle, and you'd go home.
Yeah, you'd make tie-dye. You'd make a tie-dye t-shirt. Right.
You'd make those God's eye things with the yarn and the popsicle sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'd be like, all right, we'll see you after lunch. And then we just wouldn't go back after lunch because we tapped out at our 2 hours of tie-dye. So I definitely thought about Kingsman Park. The other thing that I randomly thought of, and this will actually go into a future episode, but I thought about the bear statue.
Bear from Southwood Park.
So I don't want to spoil anything there, but is another reason, like, just bookmark that for a future episode. For the people listening to this, there is one of you left. In a future episode, we will talk about the elementary school I went to, and there was a bear statue that we would go and climb on, and at recess or on a day off or whatever. But I definitely thought about Kingsman Park. I thought about how many things happen there, the adventures there, the lighting firecrackers, the meeting up with girls, like girl and guy groups meeting up at Kingsman Park to like sit on the swings together. Yeah, so just a lot of stuff happening at Kingsman Park. That's where we walk the dogs most of the time. So like a lot of stuff happened there, like random soccer tournaments, fights. One of my favorite fights ever. A really weird intro to a story, by the way.
Best fight of my life.
Me and Seiko, 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Mom's downstairs.
We just rip it up. First thing, not even first thing, middle of the night. Like, we just start again. We're like, can we continue this? There was this. There were. A family that lived across the street from us. I think we've also talked about this in a past episode, that we just decided we were related to, Sammy and Adam. And so there was a very loose connection. I think it was like a second or third, if that's even a thing, second or third cousin. It was like someone's cousin married someone's cousin's cousin, and their cousins moved to Ajax and lived across the street from us. So they were
like Fast and Furious style, we were just like family.
Instant, because we found out like this loose connection, someone from dad's family in Newfoundland and someone from their family in Newfoundland, there's a connection. So we there are cousins, okay? And they were a little bit older than us. And their older sister also went to jail for attempted murder. So I feel like that should be noted. But anyways, family. And me and Dan used to fight quite often. We've covered that. Best friends, but also like we just enjoyed getting into it. Now, the brothers from across the street, their fights were a whole other level. Like they would go wild. They would be in the middle of the street. As
referenced by the attempted murder charge.
Yes. They'd be ripping shirts off of each other. Like they'd be cars would have to stop on Dreyer Drive to let them just finish their fight in the middle of the street. And we would like go over there and hang out. We would like grab stuff from their house. And there was a Kingsman Park episode where one day we went over there and one of the brothers, it was Sammy, and he was like, hey, let's go to the park. And we're like, sure, let's all go to the park. So me, Dan, and Sammy went to the park. And I can't remember if it was me or Dan, because we were across the street and we didn't want to go back to our house to get a bicycle. We just grabbed the other brother's, Adam's bicycle, and we just rode to the park. It's literally a 1-minute bicycle ride from there. And so Adam found out that we had taken his bike without asking. And so he goes across the street and takes, I think, Dan's bike or my bike. This part I can't remember. And so he rides over and he's livid. Like you can see the rage in the way he's riding the bicycle.
He's throwing cat food at his hands.
He can helping, bringing cold waters to us to help us stay hydrated. But you know, when you're riding so fast on the bike, it's going 45 degrees both sides. So he's doing that. And the first thing he does is he jumps off the bike as it's still going and just ghost rides the bicycle. And it slams it slams into a bench. And then he runs up to it, and I remember just yelling, just all of these things. He runs up, he then grabs the bicycle, and he tries jamming it into the oil canister that is a garbage can at Kingsman Park. And he's just losing his mind, yelling at us, trying to jam it. And of course, it's not going in. It's a bicycle, and it's a garbage can. And then anyways, he dropped it. I think it was like half in the garbage can, half out. And he yelled at us to never take his stuff without asking, got on his bicycle, and rode home. And that's the only time we saw Adam that day.
Oh.
Kingsman Park.
What if Kingsman Park?
Good old Kingsman Park.
And so it would be the sign that you're sculpting then, the Kingsman Park sign.
Yeah, the wooden sign that you would roll up, and it's like two wooden planks, and one I think said Kingsman, and the other one said, "Wait for this, folks, Park.
Oh, that's really exciting.
And I think I had logos and stuff of like the Lions Club or whoever was
Yes, yeah,
donating
whatever
money
it was.
to paying for Kinsman Park.
Whoever, whatever was Kinsman.
Yeah, whatever.
I think Kinsman was a group.
Kinsman, yeah, Kinsman. The Kinsman
Yeah.
Club is like a Lions Club. It was the same
Okay.
thing, but you would go up and they went through multiple iterations of Kinsman Park. Like they would renovate it or they would add new equipment that wasn't dangerous to children's health.
It was never better than when it was incredibly dangerous. I used to do this thing to Dal and Jonathan when they had one of those tire swings that was attached by 3 chains up to the top. And I had this like technique where I'd put them in the middle and I would push circle, 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 circle. And on the last one, grab one of the chains and spin it as fast as I could, going like in a circle all the way around, twisting, screaming. And we were just, we had gone down like 3 hours south of us, Justin had a work thing down there, and I had the kids with me, and they had like this farm park that you could go to where you could go pet animals, and also they had like different, like a corn maze and like a tractor you could climb on, and they had a tire swing. I haven't seen a tire swing in 25 years, and the first thing I did to my kids, I was like, get on that tire swing. Get on. They're like, Mom, I'm like, get on the tire swing. I need to do something. I'm doing something.
Did you spin it?
Absolutely.
Did it then fall off?
They didn't fall off, but they did get to experience like a little slice of my childhood, and for that I was extremely grateful.
Well, I'm happy you got to fulfill that.
So, anybody wants to tune into the Great Pottery Throwdown, please do. I'd love to talk about it with someone.
Yeah. Any of you other pet owners that have tons of time because it's not a human being, feel free.
You know what? Well, this leads into our topic because I had so much time the last couple of weeks that I spent 4 hours watching the SNL 50 episode. Did you get around to watching it?
Some of it. So I'm not going to lie, about 37 minutes ago, actually no, because we've been doing this for about 30. So about 74 minutes ago, I was like, oh crap, I was supposed to watch the Saturday Night Live 50th episode before we do our episode recording. And so I did start watching a bunch of the skits. So I watched some.
Okay, well, I was thinking about, because I wanted to talk about SNL. This is definitely one of those pop culture things that
raised us.
That raised us for sure. And I was like, how do I frame, like, there's literally 50 years. I've been watching it personally probably since, I think we started watching around 98, 99 is my guess. And I've watched it consistently throughout. So it's like, how do I frame this? And I'm going to frame it in the most annoying, but like classic way possible. And that is the Canadian contribution to SNL.
Hey, I really like that.
Okay. And before we start, like, why do you think SNL has been such like a touchstone for us? I think all of us watch it pretty much, like a touchstone as a family. Like, why do you think it's lasted this long for us personally?
So, great question. I was watching it, like I said, 74 minutes ago, and it's so absurd, right? Like, it's so absurd, and it's everybody leaning into the absurdity, right? Like, there's not a single person. It's like sketch comedy 101, right? Like, you never call out how absurd. Yeah, it's yes and, right? Like, it's you lean into it and you see like how absurd you can make it. Like, how can you just spin this out of control and everybody's just fueling the fire? And I would say that's one thing that, like, I don't think it's unique to our family, but it's one thing that we do. It's if somebody, well, you've seen it probably play out in this podcast for, again, that one person that's left, like, one person says something absurd and the other person's like, yeah, totally, that's absurd, and let me also show you how it's absurd or more absurd on this side, and we just kind of try to like snowball it. I think that's really it. Like, it's one person takes a stab at something and it's like, yeah, that's good. What if we layered this on top? Okay, yeah, that's better. What if we added this other layer on top? Okay, now everybody's laughing, and let's just roll with that. I think that's maybe why it's so in the cut, like in the perfect sweet spot for our family's humor. And so many other people can relate. Like, I'm not trying to main character syndrome this one, but I think for us, like, it's definitely it. Like, it's, let's see how absurd we can make it, and then let's see how we can just build on that and make it out of control.
And I was thinking about it because I'm like, SNL definitely falls under the category of things we probably weren't allowed to watch. And so, first of all, like, how did we get into SNL? And all I can remember is that we had a VHS tape of a Christmas special, probably again in 98 or 99. And we watched this VHS tape all the time. I don't know who brought it into the house. I know,
The contraband? I don't know who risked their lives.
It just appeared in our house one day, and we were all like, this is going to be my personality for the next 3 years, was this one tape. Because I mean, we were not watching SNL in real time. I don't even think we knew how to get to it for a while, but we just watched this VHS tape over and over again. And I mean, now we're still watching it. You and I text back and forth about SNL pretty often, I would say.
Yeah, I don't watch the full episodes, but I get like, I'll look at who was the host or musical guest or the musical guest, and then I'll just kind of like choose from the ones that look like they're going to be hits. Because again, I don't have that much free time. I have real children.
Okay, well, the 50 episode was great because they brought back so many, like they were just playing the hits, right? So it was very nostalgic. Adam Sandler sang a song that I openly wept while watching. Because I was like, so many good times of the last 30 years of my life. So framing it as SNL is actually a Canadian institution, not an American institution. Like, I just feel like right now what's going on in the world, I think everybody needs to remember how important Canada is to the culture. And so that's why I specifically wanted to talk about how Canadian SNL is. And that's starting with Lorne Michaels, who is the creator of SNL, is from Toronto. And he was a writer and a producer in Toronto. He actually pitched an idea for SNL to CBC, and they were like, no, that's not something we really want. But he was always really into variety type shows. That was always kind of his favorite thing to produce. And so he moved to LA, and they were looking for someone to fill in the gap. Johnny Carson had gone off the air, and they were just showing reruns on NBC, and they were looking for something to fill the gap. And Lorne Michaels had never thought about using this as a late night device. It had always been like kind of a family friendly daytime variety show. But when they were putting out the feelers for something to fill in this gap, he was like, I can do it. And so SNL was born in 1975 with the original cast. Lorne Michaels, I actually listened to a woman who wrote a book, a podcast where she was on, and she wrote a book about Lorne Michaels. Her name, I believe, is Susan Morrison. This is where I'm like, I'm going to cite my sources. Her name is Susan Morrison, and she wrote Lorne, the Man Who Invented SNL. And she's talking about his humor. And his humor is two things. First, very dry, but very absurdist, right? Am I saying that right? Absurdist.
Country of origin?
Canada. So he's very dry, but he's an absurdist as well. He likes things that are just out of pocket. And so that's kind of what SNL was created on, was this, which I find kind of like a Canadian ideal of humor, I think, is this very dry. I think I always try to impress when people are like, what's Canada like? I'm like, it's very British still. There's parts of Canada that I find to be very British. It's dryness, it's politeness. It's Canada's really like respect. It's a really respectful type of culture. And so that it makes sense to me that the humor would be kind of dry as well. I think Canadians also really love self-deprecating humor. We love poking fun at ourselves. And so that kind of bleeds through to SNL. We know that there are tons of Canadian cast members. We had Norm Macdonald, Dan Aykroyd, Martin Short, Phil Hartman, and Mike Myers, and they also brought that like extremely Canadian humor in. I actually did like a search on YouTube, like SNL sketches about Canadians, because I was like, how often does this come up? And it actually comes up more frequently than I remembered, that they poke a little fun at Canadians.
Sketches about Canada?
About Canada or about Canadians specifically. The first one that I found was one, it was called Proud Canadians, and it was a sketch that Catherine O'Hara, who is also Canadian, and Phil Hartman, and it was them doing a song together right after the Jays won the 92 World Series. And it was kind of like a victory song about it. I would love to see them do it again for the hockey game that was just won. It would be epic. There was also one that was a Canadian entertainment show with Kristen Wiig and Fred Armisen. And they tried to do like an Entertainment Tonight, but they wouldn't show pictures of anybody because it infringed on their privacy. And that's not a play thing to do. There was another one that the show was called Bonjour Hi. It was a French-Canadian morning show. And they said it's from Montreal, where Canadians go to be rude, which I love. Then they did kind of like a Dateline, and it was called CBC Report, and it was an interview show where they had a guy on that they said was the Canadian version of Harvey Weinstein, and he admits to telling his assistant that she looked nice and asked her where she got her glasses from, and then resigned immediately. And they said that he was exposed as a monster by Canadian standards, and he produced a movie called It Happened at Tim Hortons. Like the nicheness of these Canadian. Like, you'd have to have a Canadian give you this information. There's no way that this could not be done by someone who was just hearing about Canadians. Like, an American couldn't write these. They had to be written by Canadians.
And what a weird thing to lean into for something like Saturday Night Live, right? Like, it's an American thing, obviously. It's filmed, right, in New York City. It's the American show, but the influence of Canada is actually everywhere. Even the whole premise of the sketch comedy, right? It's Second City.
Yeah, right? I remember watching SCTV when we were kids. I remember catching it on TV every so often, which was a Canadian version, well, before SNL, Canadian version, and it was like Eugene Levy, and who else was on it? Like there was a bunch of
John Candy. Catherine O'Hara was on there as well, right? Mm-hmm.
So I was just last year, a movie came out that was called Saturday Night, which was a dramatization of SNL and the way it was created. And the director, who's Jason Reitman, was asked about SNL in an interview, and they said, what makes SNL so successful? How did it stand the test of time? And he specifically said it's due to Lorne's Canadian perspective of the world. And I wanted to ask you what you think that means.
One, nothing's that serious.
Okay.
Right? Like, I think if you look at, now's a very good time to take a look at this, because you look at the way that politics plays out in the United States and how it's so woven into the fabric of the United States that it's like your identity is a lot of times closely aligned with a political individual party platform.
Yeah, it's a team sport.
Yeah, right? But I think that like you'd be pressed to find that same type of mentality as a general way of being, or as like a general culture in Canada. Like, yeah, sure, people are like, Trudeau, I can't believe Trudeau has done this, and Trudeau sucks for these reasons or whatever. Like, you get that, but you don't get it to the point where like, did you just say Trudeau? What did you say about Trudeau? Like, I am now going to fight you in public because like I think that nothing is that serious. And you see that even like, I think a close connection with British humor is like, I think comedy in general, like nothing is really like out of bounds. Yes, you have to be aware, and there have been people that got canceled on SNL for doing some things that were culturally insensitive. But for the most part, like anything goes and nothing is that serious. So even like you look at the weekend update, right? And you look at Norm Macdonald, right? The original Weekend Update was with
the Weekend Update anchor of my heart. Yes, it's Norm Macdonald.
And so like the whole thing is like the sarcasm and the absurdity of the news, right? Like, yeah, like this is news and really shouldn't be, or this is news for the wrong reason, or this is so absurd that I'm going to give you this headline and I'm going to attach something else to it that's not true, and you'll have a hard time figuring out which part of it is true and which part is the joke, right? It's the Onion, right? Like it's, you look at the Onion and it's a very similar concept. So I would say like if I had to summarize it into like one phrase, it's like nothing is that serious, and we can probably find humor in just about everything.
Another thing that I was thinking of was that Canadians, I feel, are very good at punching up and not down. And I think that's kind of what SNL is built on. I think very uncommon to find a sketch that is punching down. It's a cold open with politicians. It's a celebrity poking fun at themselves. There's always punching up, and I think that's kind of a Canadian thing, where respecting kind of the order of things, and it's like what I can joke about and what I definitely can't joke about. Like, there are things that are squarely off limits. Speaking of which, this last
Let's do it.
SNL,
Speaking of which, what's off limits?
Close her up. No, this last week, SNL was hosted by Shane Gillis, who I always say is as funny as the funniest person that went to Exeter High. And to me, because of that, I don't think he's funny on SNL. I bet he slayed in someone's basement back in the day.
For the record, let's just please always pay attention who's doing the talking during these scenes.
But I'm saying, like, I bet he was really funny in a basement where a bunch of people are just like hanging out in their parents' house making jokes. He's not funny to me on like a national stage. And so watching this, I was just like, I don't get it, man. Like, it's just some guy talking at a coffee shop, isn't it, in Canada?
But is that not what you want? Like, is that not like, is that
not like, no, for SNL, I want something more polished. I want something more broad. That's why I think he's like, I went to school with 30 Shane Gillises. Like, I don't think he's that funny because I went to school with that many funny
very
people.
Awkward roll call.
Who were
Shane Gillis, here. You say it once, and then the other one's like, and there's one other. Oh, Jacqueline. Boy, out here.
And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in Shane Gillis's class again. But that's what I mean. I'm like, to me, I guess he's not as funny to me because I think there's funnier people in a basement in Canada right now. I guarantee it, watching a hockey game. Like, we don't need him. We don't need him.
I think he's funny for that exact reason. Like, it's like there's like a complete familiarity to like his style of comedy.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just like, that don't impress me much. In the wise words of Shania Twain, also Canadian. That don't impress me much. Anyway, the other thing about that specifically too, when I was thinking about it,
wasn't he kicked off of Saturday Night Live?
He was originally a cast member. He was kicked off, and he's hosted now twice. As I watched it, I was like, I probably had the right call. I think he would be funnier in someone's basement and not funny on a national television show.
But you also have to, like, there are people who write real, like, you look at it, there's a clear division between like some of the writers and then some of the performers and the people that actually have a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I was thinking about is, I don't think, and stay with me here, here's a strong statement I'm going to make. It's not about Shane Gillis, but it's that I don't think SNL would be as funny if it was Americans talking about Americans. Does that make sense? Because
I think it'd be very on brand for America.
Yeah, no, but because it's from a Canadian producer, there's a step back from what is going on in the United States. And I mean, it very topically is 98% of what's on SNL is something that's going on in the United States. But because it's from a Canadian lens, it's like you said, it's not that serious. We're allowed to poke a little fun at it. I think if it was an American talking about Americans, it's not funny because here it'd be seen as like unpatriotic, or it would get too serious or get too in the weeds. But Canadian, because they have that kind of a 30,000 foot view over what's going on, and kind of the way that Canadians view Americans in general, I think affects that as well. Not that Canadians are like, Americans are the worst, but like Canadians have ideas about the Americans and vice versa. But in Canadians' view, it's something funny. It's something to kind of laugh and joke about. It's not serious. And so I think that if you had an American producer producing stories about America, jokes about America, sketches about America, it would be a completely different show.
Totally agree. And I think even if you zoom out a little bit further, that's the same for anybody being an outsider in any culture, right? Like you go think about the times you've traveled to a country where the culture is different from the culture that you're used to. And you're like, I'm sorry, you guys do what here? Why? Do you not like,
why?
I'm sorry. You get up off this
Like,
toilet,
does
then you go sit on
nobody
another
see
one.
this as weird?
Yeah, you get off this toilet to go sit on that one, and that one does what exactly? Oh no, that one sprays up. Okay. Or like, I'm sorry, you take these sandals off to put on those sandals in the toilet, but those sandals in the toilet can't come out here in the hallway because why? Right? Like, just a lot of things. And
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you want to produce a Japanese version of SNL. Is that true?
Yeah,
Write it in your notebook, sketch it out.
I might have. I'm not even kidding. I have like pilot episodes of shows. I'm not joking. I'm not
Are
joking.
you the main character? Is it a Seinfeld-like show and it's called Porter?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. A really quirky neighbor that just shows up and sits on my...
What's the deal with fried eggs? That's my Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, I got it.
You know, they should hire me for SNL. I've got a killer Jerry Seinfeld impression.
Do you have anything else you want to share with us before you go? Well, I do a really good Jerry Seinfeld.
Actually, in Susan Morrison's book about Lauren, she was interviewing him. And he said, one of the quotes he said, making fun of the boss is the most American thing there is. We don't have that as much in Canada because nobody's that successful. And that one quote encapsulated like why SNL is funny to us, is because a lot of the things that we're seeing is absurd to us and the way that we grew up. Like, no one would act that way. This is crazy. And it's through this lens of a Canadian trying to make sense of American society, which I love.
Have you read or listened to, we've talked about it before, but the Mike Myers book?
Yes, and that was another thing that I was going to bring up as I used as first source material, was Mike Myers' book called Canada. Mm-hmm. Actually, you had told me to read it. I bought it early 2020, and then COVID happened. And I couldn't bring myself to read it because I knew I couldn't get to Canada. And I'm being totally serious. Like I was like, if I read this, I'm going to become so upset that I can't be in Canada, that like I'm not emotionally like ready to read this book. And so I waited to read it. And I did not read it until 2022 when we could start traveling again. Because then I was like, okay, if I need to go to Canada, if I read this book and become like just so like in love with the idea of going back to Canada, I can do that.
Did you read it on the flight? You're like, finally, let me get reacquainted.
A single tear
with my country of origin.
But Mike Myers, not only was he came and did a 50th episode, 50th anniversary skit, but he also was on the episode last week. He played Elon Musk, and it was pitch perfect.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. It was the Zelensky Trump skit.
Which
I think he was wearing,
played like a skit when I was watching real time. I was like, is this a cold open when they're going to say live from New York? Do you have like a favorite cast member or cast member era?
Well, yeah, like I think if you look at the era of us in high school, like that would be... Mm-hmm. That would be it. Like I remember.
Yeah, we came up during Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Chris Kattan, Jimmy Fallon. Like they were heavy hitters.
Yeah, and it was like the cheerleaders were one of the recurring sketches.
Mary Catherine Gallagher.
Philip the Hyper Hypo. Mike Myers as Philip the Hyper Hypo is still like etched in my brain as just like, again, super. I don't think you'd be allowed to do that now, for a few reasons, but yeah, like that. And then of course, Chris Farley and any sketch that he was in, right? Like just that over the top. If you look at like the bookends of maybe Canadian humor, you've got super dry Norm Macdonald on one side, and you've got Jim Carrey on the other side.
Absurd, like completely
just
absurd.
What? And then you've got like, I think Chris Farley is definitely on that side, and maybe even beyond. But like his motivational speaker as a kid, when I was like 17 years old, like that was the
funniest thing you've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Like the van and living in a van down by the river, that whole thing was just absolutely hilarious.
If you've ever listened to the podcast Fly on the Wall, it's Dana Carvey and David Spade, and it's just about SNL history. And they have people on that have been on SNL, or just they talk about like. And David Spade is actually one of my favorite cast members, because he always played the straight man to Chris Farley, and I love that dynamic. I love like someone who's completely off the rails and the person that has to play the straight man with them. So the movie Tommy Boy is like one of my all-time favorite movies, and so that era of cast members was amazing to me.
Yeah, and everything seemed like a hit, because also, if you looked at it again, where we weren't necessarily, it felt like we were doing something edgy by watching it. Because at the Porter household, it wasn't something that was like, okay, go ahead and watch this sketch comedy show about all these like maybe grown up topics, or that sometimes ventured into those. And even the comedians, like you think about some of the comedians that were on it, probably just before that era. Like you look at like the Dan Aykroyd, and then like the Eddie Murphy, like that era. Those were the first. Those were the first comedians that we would have ever heard that would have been really edgy, right? That used a ton of like, that were cursing on stage, and like it would be like they said what on stage.
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah,
like, is their mom not going to come out from behind and hit them with the phone? Like, is that not something that's going to happen? And so like it felt like a little bit edgy, and then so just for that alone, you wanted to soak it all up. Like every sketch landed, every single one, every skit was so perfect. Like even like you watch it now and it's just like, it's not even that funny. Like the What Is Love, the club guys, like to me, like I see that now, I'm like, man, it's not even really that funny, but sure.
But at the time, it was just the wildest thing you ever laid eyes on.
Oh, like please play that at a high school dance, because I'm dedicating so much energy to being them.
I loved Mary Catherine Gallagher. She is
absolutely. There's
certain things, like certain catchphrases that I'll say under my breath or whatever. Like when I was washing my dog the other day. That's just a dog. That was a yada euphemism for anything. And I was singing, "Hello, my name is Simon, and I like to do drawings," because of my guy. But I had a client, a copywriting client, and they were local, which never happens. Usually my clients are all over the place, and I never actually meet them face to face. But because they're local, I had to come into their office every so often and have meetings with them. And originally they had an office and whatever, it was kind of small, but they were growing. And so they moved into a new building. And I went to go have my first meeting in the new building, and they led me into like the boardroom or whatever, or the conference room. And I was sitting at this big table it was like the owner and probably 5 other people at this conference table. We're talking. And we got through with the meeting. And of course I put on my business persona, because I'm in business and, I'm playing my business role. And so I finished up and I was like, okay, great. Here's the deadline. I'll get that to you. We'll talk then. And I got up and turned around. I was holding my laptop still open. And I turned, and the new conference room was all glass. And I turned and walked out, but walked directly into a plate glass window, because I missed the door. And my whole laptop like smashed flat up against my face because I hit it so hard. And all the people in the cubicles heard it and stood up. So I see these like little prairie dog heads popping up all over the office of people being like, what was that? What was that? And I said in front of everybody, I said under my breath, "Superstar," because of that's what Mary Catherine Gallagher would do when she fell down. And it was like, I couldn't stop myself from saying it. Just so you know, I have not gone back to that office. That I've done has been strictly over Zoom. Thank goodness. Like, this is one thing, thank goodness for COVID.
They suggested it. They suggested like, actually, from now on, we can just do this virtually.
Like, our insurance does not cover you smashing into a plate glass window and doing a little Mary Catherine Gallagher bit.
People were not prepared for that. People also the generational gap.
No, they had no idea.
Everyone's like, "I'm sorry, like, what did you just say?"
Superstar. Like, I just said superstar because I thought it would be like, that's gonna be funnier than if I just smashed into a plate glass window. As I was watching the 50th anniversary show, Steve Martin was the one who did the opening monologue, right?
Yep.
And he even made a Canadian joke during the monologue where he said that Martin Short was there, but he had been detained by ICE. And I was like, so even now, 50 years later, like there's still like this Canadian sensibility that's like permeating the jokes. And I still love it. And we pick up on it so much more because, again, Canadians love to point out when things are Canadian. And I just love that they're still like weaving that in through the sketches, through the monologue, everything.
And even as he was being pulled away, he's like, I'll talk. I'll say things. He's like, Mike Myers, Jim Carrey. And he starts listing off all of the other Canadian cast members of SNL. Like, it was pretty, that part was pretty funny. So yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up. I think there's been 36 Canadian hosts over the 50 years specifically, and multiple of them have like hosted more than once, you know, like Jim Carrey, like Martin Short.
Yeah. One of the things I like about SNL is like them just being willing to like take a swing. I would love to be, and I'm guessing maybe I should listen to the podcast, the Fly on the Wall podcast, because I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
If only there was a way for me to be a fly on the wall.
But anytime I hear the cast members talk about what it's like to try to get your skit, like to get greenlit, and like they're even in the question asking skit of the 50th anniversary episode when with Tina Fey. So who is the cast member? He stood up and he was like, back in like 1998 or whatever, 2003, I wanted to have this, and like I've made some notes, I made these changes, and they're like,
and he's holding it. He's still holding the sketch.
But like to hear the things that don't get approved, that are either, I don't care about the ones that aren't funny enough, but the ones that are too absurd, or the ones that like step over the line too much, and the ones that people are like, you know what, let's just try it. Like, let's just go out there. Like, remember, I believe Norm Macdonald got fired, right? Because of something that was greenlit. Like, someone had to have okayed the O.J. Simpson joke that he made.
I believe it was the O.J.
It was an O.J.
And
Simpson
then they
joke.
actually made a joke that they counted all the hosts and said that only 2 of them were murderers.
I've got like some of Norm Macdonald's like edgiest weekend updates. And yeah, you're like, someone had to have greenlit this and been like, you know what? Let's just see, right? We'll kind of live or die by the sword here. Live by the sword, die by the sword by putting this one out there. So I thought that was really good. And if you look at also like some of the ones that went on to become movies, meaning some of the skits that went on to become movies, and some of the ones that were like very much Canadianism based, right? Like Wayne's World in general. Like you've seen the movie Wayne's World, or you've seen the sketches for Wayne's World. Like it's Canada, minus like the rock and roll, like because that's not unique to Canada, but like the road hockey, the jerseys, the way they talk.
Someone's basement, yes.
the accent in Wayne's World 2, there's Tim Hortons references, like Take Off, like that whole, like them, like kind of like hat tipping to Bob and Doug McKenzie, right?
Yes.
That whole Take Off.
Yeah, it's very Strange Brew.
Yeah, anyways, it's
and also Mike Myers also modeled Dr. Evil from Austin Powers from Lorne. So
really,
Dr. Evil is a Canadian.
I had no idea.
If you listen to Fly on the Wall, when Dana Carvey often does his like impression of Lorne, and it is an exact replica also of Dr. Evil, and they talk about how he would never say no to something. He would simply be like, do we need this? And the writer would go and fix it every time. He doesn't rule SNL with an iron fist. He hires people that he believes are funny people and kind of like corrals them into what they need to be, but he never says explicitly no or yes to anything.
I wonder if there's like a business book written from that angle, or like a parenting book written from that angle, but like really like
from the angle of Dr. Evil, yes.
Yes, from the angle of Dr. Evil, but no, from being like willing and open to trying anything, right? Like you look at especially some of the ones that just go off the rails, everybody, and then it becomes even funnier as a result. I think I sent you when Chance the Rapper like that to me is one of the more recent, just complete gong shows of a skit where they're floating around, no one's controlling them, they're bumping into each other, and they're trying to like improv some things because everyone's just dying at the absurdity of it all. But like just being willing to let it go and try those things and not trying to keep all of the control over it. Being like, you know what? All right, go for it. If it doesn't land,
and if it bombs, it bombs.
You might get another shot at this.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the public might come for your head on a stake, but we don't know which way it's gonna go. Go for it. Like, why don't you go for it? And as a result, I'm not saying that's the only thing, but as a result, he is the most decorated, the most winningest producer of all time for the Emmys. He's got 21 Emmys under his belt. We're talking about Lorne Michaels in particular here, but
But how many Junos does he have?
the real question. Has he ever shown up to a Juno? Like, could you imagine me like, sorry guys, I can't
Like,
do
please,
that next
Lauren.
weekend.
Please,
I've got a Juno. People are like, a what? A what now?
Juno.
Is that a skit? Is that a skit? They really need to do a skit of the Juno Awards
About
if
the
they
Juno,
haven't.
and the only person who ever hosts is either like Jan Arden or Sarah McLachlan.
Let me just let me write that down in my my notebook here.
Your sketchbook?
My sketchbook.
Your sketchbook?
I've got sketches now and we've done it. You guys have seen this play out in real time where I'm like, dude, we just thought of a movie. You think we're joking. You think I'm joking. I am not.
Ryan
okay.
submits these every day.
Every week.
To
I'm
SNL.
like, Ryan and Jacqueline, who is it? Different names. But no, I've got
One day
like,
they're
okay,
gonna ask me to try out.
how much would we need to raise to make this movie? Who would be in it? Where would the budgets be allocated? How would we get this to go viral in order as like an organic growth strat? Like I have those. I do it all the time.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of these journeys that you're going on.
You're what's known as an enabler.
I'm the Lorne Michaels of this situation. Like,
Go for
you
it.
should go for it. Go for it. You know what? Let's try it. Don't put my name on it, but let's try it. I won't be in front of the camera. You go ahead.
And another thing.
Just the last thing is that I thought it was interesting that the trifecta of media that we consumed and loved as teenagers was encapsulated by Conan O'Brien. It's the Conan O'Brien Show, The Simpsons, and SNL. So I'm like, so much of our lives have been influenced by Conan O'Brien. But they asked him in this book about Lauren and being Canadian and how he worked with them. And Conan O'Brien said that when he dies, actually this was on his own podcast, he said when he dies, he wants his ghost to go haunt Toronto because he said Toronto has the smartest, funniest people who laugh the most. And I was like, sweet. And I felt like he meant me personally.
Jacqueline?
I'm like, Conan, stop.
Is he in any? Is he in any sketches on the? I know he's in the background of the question asking one, but
yes,
is he
and he did one. He was talking about where someone else played him, and then he played Lauren specifically. And now I need to go find it because I feel like that would be great. But yeah, he said he's not one of the ones that he's not one of the writers that was dying to get in front of the camera, because a lot of them start off as writers and then transition into players, cast members, and he wasn't one that wanted to, but then he got picked up for late night anyway, so he was out. I mean, it's just like I need to read like an entire history of SNL. The 50th anniversary show, I was like, I had so many good vibes from the entire experience. It's like 4 hours long, truly. And every moment I had like a smile on my face. The concert that they did was insane. They did a separate concert where like Post Malone was Kurt Cobain. And
I saw that
with Nirvana. I mean, like Cher came out, like every person, like I was screaming because every person was amazing. I was like, the pull, the cultural pull that SNL still has 50 years down the line is actually insane, and it's all from the mind of a beautiful Canadian.
So a few trivia questions to end out, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe whether or not this will go in. It's not really crazy ones, but. One, do you know who the first person to ever say live from New York?
Was it Belushi?
No.
Oh, who was it?
Chevy Chase.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you know what the original name was or what it was almost called?
I remember what the original cast members were called. They were originally called like the Not Ready for Primetime Players, but I don't know. I don't know if I knew what the original name was.
So the original name for it was actually NBC's Saturday Night. They were going to call it that, but there's already a show called Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell on ABC, and so
which got canceled a year later, so they were able to take it back.
Exactly, and so once it failed, they're like, finally, we can have this name. And then this one is just not, maybe this is going to help somebody on a trivia night, but Lorne Michaels apparently once offered $3,000 to the Beatles, like jokingly offered them on air to be like reunite and play SNL. And apparently Paul McCartney and John Lennon were watching SNL together in New York that night. And
Iconic.
they almost went down to 30 Rock. Like, wouldn't it be funny if, and like that would have been just a crazy, like, off the wall. Yeah.
I read also that like later George Harrison, one of the members of the Beatles, was like, "Okay, I will reunite," and Lauren was like, "No, it's not all of you, so you don't get $3,000." George Harrison was like, "I really could use $3,000.
Can I just get the money anyway? Can you commission me?"
Things are rough because I'm not Paul McCartney. Everybody forgets about George.
I've got two more. Let's do two more. Do you know who Lorne Michaels has gone on the record to say is the worst host of SNL and has been banned from ever coming back?
I feel like I should know this. It's a man, correct?
Yes, you are correct.
I know.
When I say it, if you don't guess it, when I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that makes total sense."
Okay, just tell me.
Steven Seagal.
Oh, okay. I was going like WWF. I was like in my head. I was like someone
Close.
like that.
Very
But
close.
I got there. I was getting there.
They say that he was so difficult to work with that the writers and cast hated him. And so he was banned from ever returning. So the last one was...
I listened to an interview with, I believe, Jimmy Fallon, who was talking about when Mick Jagger was on, and they kept trying to pitch sketch ideas to Mick Jagger, and he would just yell at them, "Not funny!" And my family now, because we've heard that story so many times, does it to each other. So if the kids come up with a joke and we don't think it's funny, the rest of the family will yell in a British accent.
Funny.
Not funny! At them, which is really going to do some damage.
Listen, yeah. I wonder how often that's happened, where like a sketch is pitched and the critique or the criticism or the rollout from that is actually 100 times funnier. And they're like, you know what, let's go with this instead. It probably happens quite often.
In the song that Adam Sandler sings, he references like how hard it is to do a sketch when one of the hosts won't take off their shirt.
Okay, so finally, last one is the worst audition ever. So this is different from the worst host, but the worst audition for SNL. This one's a weird one for me, but...
What's the era?
So it would have been that, I'm guessing that Dan Aykroyd time.
So early on.
Yeah, and this person is a major A-list actor, like has been in incredible movies.
Would it be Bill Murray?
No, because I wouldn't put Bill Murray. No disrespect to Bill Murray.
I know, you said A-list and I was like, but like in he's terms A-list to me.
like critically acclaimed movies.
Critically acclaimed. Did they make it on the cast?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, go ahead then, because I'm only thinking of people who are on the cast.
Robert De Niro.
Oh, he's not funny. Not funny!
Not funny!
Mick Jagger was there for the audition. I love watching SNL audition tapes. Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig, if you want to look those up on YouTube, maybe I can put them in the show notes too. They are two of the funniest audition tapes you'll ever see.
I'll go watch them. Actually, no, I'll wait for them in the show notes and then I'll watch them.
Even better.
So I could be.
I'll put them in 2 hours after you post the show notes, which is after my schedule.
After it's gone live, people are like, "Wait, I went there and none of that stuff was there." So yes,
I'm like, oh no.
After you, well, it's also because I send it. I'm like, okay, the show will be going live 7:30 a.m. your time.
Just waking up in a cold sweat, like I got to do show notes.
I shouldn't have woke up at 2 to start that fight with Justin. I'm so tired.
Well, has anybody seen that bad?
All right. Well, this is where we wrap it up. The same way we wrap up every single episode. An unhinged text message from a family member. Where I usually hope that it's not me.
It is you this time. You're in luck. I sent you a message on Instagram and it was a video that said, when a therapist says we use dark humor as an unhealthy coping mechanism, but all we hear is you're effing hilarious. I sent that to you. And you said I take everything as a compliment, and some way of them saying that I'm special. I really liked that. That's great.
I'm sorry. What are you saying? Oh, I'm special. I'm better than everybody else is what you're saying.
So what you're saying is I'm finally manifesting my destiny of being the best boy.
Well,
all right.
This was fun as always. I know I say that and I'm never lying.
Honestly, this one was like, they're all pretty fun to like get into and research, but this one was really fun because I genuinely find SNL delightful, and it was fun to
You're
like
just
dig
watching
into.
SNL. The same as the Simpsons. Like I did a lot of research on this.
Justin walks in, he's like, "Can you tap in with the kids here?" I'm like, "I'm working right now." Like it seems like you're just watching old SNL audition tapes.
And I wish I do have the sound clip, and I need to make it like a ringer or something, like a ringer. I need to make this like a ringtone or something, but there is an episode that no one got to hear, at least this part, where the kids at your house are causing a commotion outside while we're recording. And as we're still rolling the tapes, as you were walking back from being angry or telling them to be quiet or whatever, you, and I quote, you yelled, and I quote, "I'm podcasting!" As like
it's very serious.
You all need to recognize this, that I'm in here podcasting.
I'm in my studio. There's a towel on the door, which is the family sign for moms in their podcasting.
There is water dripping in your laundry basin, which is located directly beside your computer and microphone that is recording this. You're like, and I am podcasting in here. Sorry, you just on a phone call with Uncle Ryan? Podcasting. Did you not hear?
Podcasting. It's my job.
All right. Well, look, we appreciate the people, the person that made it this far, not just in this episode, but in the podcast in general. There's got to be at least one of you out there. Yeah,
listen to every single one.
All right. Well, I will talk to you again in 2 weeks when we run it back.